Thank you. All right, let me move this up just a little bit. And Ray, I have to say, I love your voice. It's an awesome voice, right? I wish I had that sort of like, it's great. Wow, it's been a full week and a bit of a whirlwind. So I really appreciate you all sticking with me till the end here. Again, my name is Laurie Muldowney, and I have the pleasure of wrapping things up this week. I understand that I'm the only thing likely between happy hour, your next meal, or traveling home, so I will try to keep it brief. But before I jump into some closing remarks, I do want to take just a few minutes to thank those who made this workshop or this symposium possible. First, I want to thank Brenda Stoddart and the team at CDER's Small Business Industry Assistance Office. I think I got that right. SBIA handled all the logistics, right? They got the conference room, they handled registration, they handled the audiovisual, really everything to make the logistics possible. And if you aren't familiar with SBIA, you really should check out their webpage on fda.gov. It's all free, and it's all intended to be resources, educational resources. They provide live and on-demand information to industry, so definitely check it out. I want to thank the Planning Committee. Planning Committee was comprised of not only staff across the FDA, but also we had Stephen Vinter and his team from MHRA, and Hossein Abid and the team from Health Canada. And the planning team really has been working for the better part of the past year, trying to develop the agenda, identify presenters for this workshop. Many of whom were also serving double duty and presented, which kind of leads me to my next thank you. I appreciate and thank our awesome presenters, our moderators, and our panelists. I think we had a lot of excellent presentations. Thank you for answering all of these questions at the end each day. It was really tremendous. And thank you to the audience for not only providing these questions, but for really staying for this. 3 days is a lot to take out of your busy schedules. We get that, but we also understand that this is a topic, and these are topics that are really important to all of us. And again, thank you to those who are actually still in the room. And finally, I want to thank our fearless workshop leader, Lakeisha Williams. Thank you, Lakeisha, in the back. Lakeisha handles so much of the planning behind the scenes. It's like herding cats is one of my favorite little sayings, but trying to get everything she needs from the presenters, from the planning committee on time in order to make the workshop possible. So Lakeisha, we could not have done it without you. So thank you again. So today we covered a variety of topics. We heard a lot of really interesting bioequivalence case studies this morning that highlighted some of the potential pitfalls in BE studies, both with clinical and on the bioanalytical side. And these case studies really underscore the need to have available the data and the records to reconstruct all of the study activities, to verify if subjects received the right sequence of drug treatments, and that the drug concentrations that are reported to our agencies are reliable. This afternoon, we heard about international collaboration in GPV, the future of pharmacovigilance inspections, and we heard safety updates from each of our agencies. But I want to try to step back and highlight a couple of the common threads from the entire workshop. So we covered 3 broad topics in 3 days. We covered good clinical practice and clinical trials, the conduct of bioavailability and bioequivalence studies, and good pharmacovigilance practices. But there were a few themes that were repeated throughout, and I'm sure these are probably not going to be a surprise to anybody. And some may sound very familiar if you heard Dr. Grandinetti's closing remarks yesterday, but I have been told that repetition is the mother of learning and the father of action. So lots of quotes here today. So perhaps being a bit redundant is not a bad thing. But first, I want to reflect on the impact of innovation and technology on both industry and regulators. On the regulatory side, we heard about leveraging technology and software to facilitate remote and on-site inspections as well as compliance activities. We know that remote evaluations were essential to maintaining oversight during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they continue to be explored by all of the agencies who were represented across a variety of compliance programs. We did hear a bit about some of the challenge that regulators experience when they're conducting these remote activities, as well as some of the successes. And I think it's really great to have an open dialogue and discussion about our experiences with this new tool and how it's evolving. I think it's fair to say that we're continuing to explore how to best use this tool. I do expect that over time we're going to gain efficiencies and that we're going to better understand where the appropriate place to use this tool in the toolbox, as we like to say, is. Sorry, I have dry hands. On the industry side, during our GCP sessions, we heard about digital health technologies. We heard about clinical trials with decentralized elements, real-world evidence, and adaptive design. We're seeing increased numbers of data sources. We have complex data flow, and we're seeing the increasing use of these digital health technologies. And with all of these complexities and opportunities, I like to think, I think the most important takeaway from this entire week, potentially, is the importance of applying a proportionate and risk-based approach to the entire clinical trial lifecycle. So it's really about thinking and documenting your thinking and not using a one-size-fits-all approach. So you should incorporate quality into the design of the study, identify and appropriately manage those aspects of the trial that are critical to the protection of research participants and to generating reliable data that's essential for decision making. And this includes, of course, through the use of risk-based oversight and monitoring approaches that are tailored to the potential risks of the specific study and that are revised as needed. It's not a start at the beginning and then just run with it. You need to continue to revise and look at the information that you're gathering and continue to update your oversight and monitoring processes. In pharmacovigilance, there are also increasing sources and volumes of data. Both industry and regulators face challenges with timely and efficient collection, processing, and evaluation of the vast amount of safety information that comes in. And advances in emerging technology that we heard about earlier, including artificial intelligence and machine learning, have the potential to address some of these challenges by creating more efficiencies in pharmacovigilance systems. But again, all of this needs to be done in a risk-proportionate way, focusing on important identified risks as well as important potential risks. And we as regulators recognize the need to understand industry's use of these technologies and continue to develop approaches and policy as this landscape really evolves. The other common thread that I hope was really obvious throughout the week is the importance and really fundamental need to collaborate. The pharmaceutical industry, again, it's increasingly global and complex with multi-regional trials that are pretty standard, greater number of clinical trial sites across the globe. After approval, products are used around the world, making patient safety and pharmacovigilance a global endeavor as well. And at the same time, we've already covered some of the increased complexity that we're seeing, but I do want to mention one other area that's been raised a few times and I think is really important, and that's the growth of third-party providers who are conducting trial and post-marketing pharmacovigilance-related activities. So collaboration, including international collaboration between our regulatory agencies, is really more important now than ever. We heard over the last 3 days about the many ways that FDA, MHRA, and Health Canada collaborate, but also how we collaborate with many other foreign regulators, some of whom may be in the room or on video, and how we, as regulators, collaborate with patient groups and industry as well, and really the value that these collaborations bring. We heard a bit about ICH efforts to harmonize regulatory requirements across regions to the extent that that's possible, But even when there still may be differences in processes or even in specific legislative authorities, we're really focused on the same principles. And there's quite a lot that we agree on, as I think everybody heard this week. Regulators are leveraging international collaborations like PICS and ICMRA, as well as bilateral information sharing agreements to try to develop common standards, harmonize inspectional approaches, and exchange important information, including from inspections. Our international collaborations have improved our ability to identify data reliability and human subjects protections concerns. And importantly, they help us to optimize our use of limited regulatory resources and to extend our oversight capacity. So, and of course, meetings like this provide an excellent opportunity to promote compliance, hopefully with a pretty shared voice, which I think is awesome. This is our fourth collaborative workshop over, I think, the last 6 years, and it certainly will not be our last. So please, as you leave today, don't forget to complete surveys. Let us know if there are topics that you would like to see covered in a future workshop on GCP, BE, and PV, or if you have other recommendations that you think might make this workshop more valuable. And for those of you who have been here all week, you will understand why I felt compelled to come up with a Disney quote to send us on our way. Thankfully, Marvel is a subsidiary of Disney because I'm actually an action film girl myself. So I leave you with a quote from Black Panther, which is, "Just because something works doesn't mean it can't be improved." We're in the midst of a time of fairly rapid change, and really in everything we do. And we should embrace this thoughtfully, recognize that not all of our efforts to innovate are going to be a success, and that's okay. But we should always be looking for ways to improve the way we do things. And with that, I say thank you, safe travels to those who are traveling, and we look forward to our next time together. So thank you.